Sacramento, from gold rush chaos to tech capital and cannabis culture revolution. Picture this, it's 2024, and while the rest of America argues about everything online, Sacramento quietly became the epicenter of America's cannabis revolution, hosting the world's largest legal marijuana conference right in the shadow of the state capitol. But here's the kicker. This same city that once hanged outlaws in the streets now regulates billion-dollar pot businesses with the precision of a Swiss watch. How did a rough-and-tumble gold rush town transform into California's political powerhouse and one of America's most surprisingly progressive capitals? The story gets even wilder when you realize that Sacramento survived everything from devastating floods that literally moved entire buildings to higher ground, to being completely bypassed by the Transcontinental Railroad, to nearly losing its capital status multiple times. Yet here we are in 2025, and Sacramento isn't just surviving. It's absolutely thriving as one of America's most livable cities. Hey there, fellow city explorers. If you're fascinated by American cities that reinvented themselves against all odds, you absolutely need to hit that subscribe button for our Town Tales channel right now. I'm talking about smashing that like button so hard your phone screen cracks, and sharing this video faster than a Sacramento Kings fast break. Trust me, by the end of this story, you'll understand why Sacramento locals have a saying. We're not just the capital of California, we're the capital of comebacks. And speaking of comebacks, let me tell you about mine. I once got lost in old Sacramento looking for authentic gold rush history and ended up in a tourist trap selling plastic pickaxes. Don't let that happen to you. Let's roll back to 1839, when a Swiss immigrant named John Sutter established what he called New Helvetia at the confluence of the Sacramento and American rivers. Sutter had big dreams. He wanted to create an agricultural empire in the heart of California. The guy built a fort, recruited workers, and started farming like there was no tomorrow. Everything was going according to plan until January 24th, 1848, when James Marshall spotted something shiny in the tail race of Sutter's sawmill at Coloma. That something was gold, and it changed everything. Word spread faster than wildfire, and suddenly Sutter's peaceful agricultural settlement became ground zero for the California gold rush. By 1849, fortune seekers from around the world descended on the area like locusts. They called themselves 49ers, and they turned Sacramento into the wildest boomtown the American West had ever seen. Here's where it gets crazy. Sacramento became the supply hub for the entire gold country. Merchants set up shop faster than you could pan for gold, and the city became a maze of tents, wooden shacks, and muddy streets. The population exploded from a few hundred to over 10,000 in just 2 years. But success came with serious problems. The biggest nightmare was flooding. The Sacramento River had a nasty habit of overflowing every few years, turning the entire city into a lake. In 1850, the flood was so bad that people were literally paddling boats down what is now K Street. Instead of giving up, Sacramento residents came up with one of the most ingenious solutions in American urban history. They razed the entire city. Between 1862 and 1873, building by building, block by block, Sacramento literally lifted itself up by 10 to 15 feet. They filled in the ground level with dirt and debris, creating new foundations. If you walk through old Sacramento today, you're actually walking on what used to be the second story of buildings. The original streets and storefronts are still down there, creating an underground city that would make Seattle jealous. Meanwhile, Sacramento was fighting another battle. The battle to become California's permanent capital. The state capital had been bouncing around like a ping-pong ball between San Jose, Vallejo, and Benicia. Sacramento businessmen knew that landing the capital would secure their city's future, so they launched a charm offensive that would make modern lobbyists proud. They offered free land for government buildings, promised luxurious accommodations for legislators, and even threw legendary parties that became the stuff of political folklore. The strategy worked. In 1854, Sacramento became California's official capital, and despite multiple attempts to move it to San Francisco or Los Angeles, It has remained the seat of government ever since. The 1860s brought another game changer, the Transcontinental Railroad. Sacramento became the western terminus of the Central Pacific Railroad, the starting point for one of the most ambitious engineering projects in American history. The Big Four, Leland Stanford, Collis Huntington, Mark Hopkins, and Charles Crocker, turned Sacramento into Railroad Central. Thousands of workers, many of them Chinese immigrants, lived and worked in Sacramento while building the railroad that would connect the Atlantic and Pacific coasts. But here's a local secret that tourists never hear about. Sacramento had one of the most integrated societies in 19th century America. The gold rush brought together people from every continent, creating a cultural melting pot that was unprecedented for its time. Chinese immigrants established a thriving Chinatown. Mexican vaqueros worked alongside European farmers, and African American miners staked their claims just like everyone else. The city's diversity showed up in its food culture too. While other American cities were stuck with bland Anglo fare, Sacramento was already serving up fusion cuisine that would make modern foodies weep with joy. There was a legendary restaurant called Wong's Palace that served what locals called California cuisine, Chinese techniques applied to California ingredients. They had a dish called Miner's Luck that combined Chinese five-spice with local salmon and wild rice. It was so popular that politicians would schedule meetings around lunch just to get a table. Speaking of food, Sacramento developed some seriously unique culinary traditions that you won't find anywhere else. There's something called Capital City Chili that local families have been making for generations. It's not your typical Texas chili. It's made with local beef, Sacramento Delta crawfish, and a secret blend of spices that supposedly came from a Chinese herb shop in the 1870s. Every family thinks they have the authentic recipe, and the arguments at church potlucks can get pretty heated. The early 1900s brought new challenges and opportunities. Agriculture became Sacramento's steady bread and butter. The Sacramento Valley's Mediterranean climate and rich soil made it perfect for growing everything from rice to almonds to tomatoes. The city became the processing and shipping center for one of America's most productive agricultural regions. But Sacramento also faced the same urban problems that plagued American cities in the early 20th century. The old wooden buildings from the gold rush era were fire hazards. The infrastructure was outdated, and the city needed serious modernization. The solution came in the form of progressive city planning that was ahead of its time. In the 1910s and 1920s, Sacramento embarked on what locals called the Beautiful City movement. They created one of America's first urban park systems, with tree-lined streets and neighborhood parks that connected to larger green spaces. The American River Parkway, which today is one of Sacramento's crown jewels, had its origins in this early conservation movement. The city also pioneered public health initiatives that became models for other American cities. Sacramento was one of the first cities to require restaurant inspections, establish public swimming pools in every neighborhood, and create a citywide garbage collection system. They even had something called Health Weeks, where city employees would go door-to-door teaching families about nutrition and sanitation. Here's a great Sacramento story that perfectly captures the city's spirit of innovation. In 1925, a local barber named Giuseppe Joe Mariani invented what he called the Sacramento Special haircut. It was designed specifically for politicians who needed to look good from multiple angles for newspaper photographers. The cut was longer on the sides to frame the face, but shorter on top to prevent that wild hair look when the Delta breeze kicked up. Politicians from across the country started coming to Sacramento just to get the special, and Joe's barbershop became an unofficial political meeting place. The Great Depression hit Sacramento hard, but the city's diversity and agricultural base helped it weather the storm better than many American cities. Federal work programs put people to work improving the city's infrastructure, and many of the beautiful Art Deco buildings that define downtown Sacramento today were built during this period. World War II transformed Sacramento yet again. The city became a major military logistics hub, with bases and defense plants providing jobs for thousands of workers. The McClellan Air Force Base became one of the largest employers in the region, and Sacramento's population exploded with workers from across the country. This wartime boom created Sacramento's first major suburban expansion. Neighborhoods like Land Park and East Sacramento were developed to house the influx of workers, and these areas maintained their character as some of the city's most desirable residential districts. The war also brought new cultural influences. Southern workers brought barbecue traditions. East Coast transplants introduced new architectural styles, and Mexican braceros added to the city's already rich Latino heritage. The post-war years saw Sacramento embrace its role as California's capital city with new confidence. The state capital was renovated and expanded, and Sacramento began marketing itself as more than just a government town. The city fathers launched tourism campaigns highlighting Sacramento's gold rush history, creating Old Sacramento as one of America's first major historic preservation districts. But the real transformation came in the 1960s and 1970s, when Sacramento began attracting major employers beyond government and agriculture. The aerospace industry established a presence with companies like Aerojet, bringing high-tech jobs and a new generation of educated workers. UC Davis, just 15 miles away in nearby Davis, began partnering with Sacramento businesses and government agencies, creating a brain trust that attracted even more innovation. The 1980s and 1990s brought Sacramento into the modern era with style. The city successfully lobbied for professional sports teams, bringing the Sacramento Kings to town in 1985. The team quickly became more than just entertainment. They became a symbol of Sacramento's growing confidence and ambition. Kings games became the place where politicians, business leaders, and regular folks all came together to cheer for their team. Meanwhile, Sacramento was quietly positioning itself as one of America's most livable cities. The city invested heavily in bike infrastructure, creating one of the nation's most extensive urban cycling networks. The American River Parkway was expanded and improved, providing 23 miles of scenic trails right through the heart of the city. Tree-lined neighborhoods like Midtown and East Sacramento became models for urban living that balanced historic character with modern amenities. Now, here's where you'll want to check out that QR code on your screen or click the link in our description. It'll take you to an interactive map showing all the hidden gems and local secrets we're talking about in this video. The 2000s brought new challenges and opportunities. The dot-com boom reached Sacramento, bringing tech companies and startup culture to California's capital. But Sacramento maintained its unique character. It became known as a place where you could have a tech career without the Silicon Valley stress and housing costs. The city also embraced its agricultural heritage in new ways. The farm-to-fork movement found a natural home in Sacramento, with restaurants showcasing local ingredients and chefs becoming celebrities in their own right. The annual Farm to Fork Festival became one of the city's signature events, drawing food lovers from across the country. But perhaps the most significant transformation came with California's legalization of cannabis. Sacramento didn't just adapt to the new industry. It embraced it with typical Sacramento pragmatism and innovation. The city created comprehensive regulations that balanced business opportunities with public health and safety concerns. By 2023 and 2024, Sacramento had become the unofficial capital of America's legal cannabis industry. The city hosts major industry conferences, houses research facilities, and has attracted cannabis companies from around the world. It's a perfect example of how Sacramento has always handled change, not by fighting it, but by figuring out how to do it better than anyone else. Today, Sacramento is a city that perfectly balances its historic character with modern innovation. The downtown area has been revitalized with new restaurants, bars, and entertainment venues, while still preserving the architectural heritage that tells the city's story. The Midtown District has become one of the coolest urban neighborhoods in America, with tree-lined streets, vintage homes, and a thriving art scene. Sacramento's food scene has exploded in recent years, earning recognition from national food critics and magazines. But locals know the real gems, places like the Original Squeeze Inn, where they make burgers with cheese skirts that hang over the edges of the bun, or Frank Fat's, the legendary Chinese restaurant that's been feeding politicians since 1939 and still serves the best honey walnut prawns in California. The city's commitment to outdoor recreation remains unmatched. The American River provides world-class rafting and kayaking right in the city, while the nearby Sierra Nevada mountains offer skiing, hiking, and camping within an hour's drive. Sacramento residents have a saying, "Why live anywhere else when you can ski in the morning and surf in the afternoon?" Okay, the surfing requires a 2-hour drive to the coast, but the point stands. Education and innovation continue to drive Sacramento's growth. UC Davis has expanded its Sacramento campus, focusing on health sciences and public policy. California State University, Sacramento has become a powerhouse in business and criminal justice education. The city has also attracted research institutes and think tanks that influence policy far beyond California's borders. Sacramento's music scene deserves special mention. The city has produced an incredible array of talent, from the pioneering hip-hop of the late 1980s to the indie rock and folk scenes that thrive today. Local venues like Harlow's and the Crest Theater have hosted everyone from unknown local bands to major touring acts, maintaining Sacramento's reputation as a music city. The business climate has evolved dramatically too. Sacramento has become a magnet for companies that want access to California's markets and talent without San Francisco's costs and congestion. Major corporations have established regional headquarters here, while small businesses thrive in neighborhoods throughout the city. But what really sets Sacramento apart is its sense of community. Despite growing to over 500,000 people in the metro area, Sacramento has maintained a friendly, unpretentious character that makes it feel like a collection of neighborhoods rather than an impersonal big city. People still wave to their neighbors, kids still play in the streets until dark, and strangers still strike up conversations at coffee shops. The city's commitment to sustainability and environmental responsibility has also set it apart. Sacramento has one of the nation's most aggressive urban tree planting programs, aiming to create a true city of trees. The city has invested in renewable energy, public transit, and green building practices that have made it a model for other mid-sized American cities. Local traditions remain strong too. The annual Camellia Festival celebrates the city's designation as the camellia capital of the world. The California State Fair still calls Sacramento home, bringing together the best of California agriculture, food, and entertainment every summer. And every year, thousands of people participate in the Capital to Capital bike ride, cycling from Sacramento to Davis and back in a celebration of the region's cycling culture. Sacramento's political influence extends far beyond California. As the state capital of America's most populous state, decisions made in Sacramento affect the entire country. Climate policy, technology regulation, agricultural standards, and social issues debated in Sacramento often become national templates. The city has also become a destination for political junkies and government nerds. The state capitol building offers free tours that rival anything in Washington, D.C., and the California Museum provides world-class exhibits on California history and culture. Local bars and restaurants still buzz with political gossip and deal-making, maintaining Sacramento's tradition as a city where politics and regular life intersect naturally. Looking toward the future, Sacramento is positioning itself as a leader in several emerging industries. Clean technology companies are establishing operations here, taking advantage of government incentives and UC Davis research partnerships. The food and agriculture technology sector is booming, with startups developing everything from vertical farming systems to plant-based meat alternatives. The city is also investing heavily in transportation infrastructure. High-speed rail will eventually connect Sacramento to Los Angeles and San Francisco, making it even more attractive to businesses and residents. The Sacramento International Airport continues to expand, adding direct flights to major cities and international destinations. But perhaps most importantly, Sacramento has maintained its commitment to affordability and livability that has always been its greatest strength. While other California cities have priced out middle-class families, Sacramento remains a place where teachers, firefighters, and small business owners can afford to buy homes and raise families. The diversity that began with the gold rush continues to define Sacramento today. The city is home to thriving Latino, Asian American, African American, and Pacific Islander communities, each contributing to the cultural richness that makes Sacramento unique. The annual Pacific Rim Festival and Cinco de Mayo celebrations are just two examples of how Sacramento celebrates its multicultural heritage. Sacramento's story is ultimately the story of American reinvention and resilience. From gold rush boomtown to agricultural center to political capital to tech hub to cannabis pioneer, Sacramento has never been afraid to embrace change and find new ways to thrive. It's a city that proves you don't have to choose between honoring your history and embracing the future. So there you have it. Sacramento's incredible journey from rough and tumble frontier town to one of America's most livable and forward-thinking cities. It's a place where you can tour a gold rush museum in the morning, lobby a state legislator at lunch, catch a Kings game in the evening, and still be home in time to help your kids with homework. If you're proud of Sacramento, grateful for its story, and want to see more cities get the recognition they deserve, you absolutely must subscribe to our channel, smash that like button, and share this video with everyone you know. Sacramento didn't become amazing by accident. It took generations of people who believed in their city and worked to make it better. Don't forget to check out our other videos about California cities like Davis, Stockton, and Modesto. Each one has its own incredible story of transformation and growth. And make sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss a new episode of Town Tales. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep celebrating the amazing cities that make America great. Sacramento's resilience shows in every corner of the city today. Walk through the Capitol Park and you'll see the same trees that witnessed gold rush fortunes made and lost. Drive down the tree-lined streets of Land Park and you're following paths carved by World War II defense workers building a new American dream. Stop by the farmers market under the freeway and you're participating in a tradition that connects today's farm-to-fork movement with the agricultural heritage that sustained this city through every boom and bust. The local coffee shops tell their own stories. Temple Coffee Roasters started as a tiny operation in a converted garage and now supplies beans to restaurants across Northern California. Revolution Wines began when a Sacramento lawyer decided he'd rather make wine than practice law, and now his urban winery in the Warehouse District draws visitors from around the world. These aren't just businesses. They're examples of Sacramento's entrepreneurial spirit that traces back to those first gold rush merchants who saw opportunity where others saw chaos. Sacramento's neighborhoods each have their own personality and secrets. In Curtis Park, residents still gather for the annual Porch Fest, where musicians play on front porches while neighbors wander from house to house with lawn chairs and picnic baskets. The tradition started accidentally when a local band couldn't afford to rent a venue, so they just set up on their front porch. Now, it's become one of the city's most beloved community events. Over in Oak Park, the transformation has been remarkable. What was once considered Sacramento's most challenged neighborhood has become a vibrant arts district where murals tell the stories of families who've lived there for generations alongside newcomers drawn by affordable housing and creative energy. The annual Chalk It Up Festival turns the streets into a massive outdoor art gallery, with professional artists working alongside kids with sidewalk chalk. The food truck revolution found fertile ground in Sacramento, too. What started with a few adventurous cooks parking outside government buildings has evolved into a full-fledged mobile culinary scene. There's the Drewski's Hot Rod Kitchen Truck that serves gourmet mac and cheese combinations that would make a Wisconsin dairy farmer weep. The Soul Food Truck fuses Korean flavors with California ingredients, creating kimchi burritos that have achieved legendary status among late-night state capitol workers. Sacramento's commitment to preserving its history while embracing change shows up in unexpected places. The Old City Cemetery, established in 1849, isn't just a burial ground. It's an outdoor museum where docents lead tours sharing stories of gold rush pioneers, Civil War veterans, and early California politicians. During the annual lamplight tours, Actors in period costume bring historical figures back to life, telling their stories by candlelight among the old tombstones. The American River continues to be Sacramento's crown jewel, but locals know the secret spots that tourists miss. There's a swimming hole near the Nimbus Dam where families have been cooling off for generations. The water is always cold, fed by snowmelt from the Sierra Nevada, and local kids learn to swim there before they can ride bikes. Old-timers remember when salmon runs were so thick you could practically walk across the river on their backs, and recent restoration efforts are bringing those runs back stronger than ever. Sacramento's music history runs deeper than most people realize. The city was a major stop on the jazz and blues circuits of the 1940s and 1950s, when clubs along West Capitol Avenue hosted legendary performers. Many of those venues are gone now, but local musicians keep the tradition alive in smaller clubs and house concerts throughout the city. The annual Jazz Jubilee draws musicians and fans from across the country, turning Sacramento into a musical time machine for one weekend every year. The craft beer scene exploded in Sacramento over the past decade, but it built on traditions that go back to the Gold Rush era. Local brewers today use hops grown in the same Sacramento Valley fields that supplied beer makers in the 1800s. New Helvetia Brewing Company took its name directly from John Sutter's original settlement, and their flagship beer uses a recipe adapted from a 19th century German immigrant journal found in the California State Archives. Sacramento's role in California agriculture extends far beyond what most people see. The city serves as headquarters for countless agricultural organizations, from the California Rice Commission to the Almond Board of California. Policy decisions made in Sacramento boardrooms affect food prices and farming practices around the world. During harvest season, the air fills with the sweet smell of tomatoes being processed at the Hunt's plant, a reminder that Sacramento remains connected to the land despite its urban sophistication. The education scene continues evolving in exciting directions. Sacramento State University's criminal justice program has become one of the most respected in the nation, training police officers, lawyers, and forensic scientists who work throughout California and beyond. The university's public policy and administration program regularly sends students to internships in the state capitol, creating a pipeline of future government leaders who understand Sacramento from the ground up. Local high schools maintain fierce rivalries that date back generations. McClatchy High and Sacramento High have been competing in everything from football to debate team for over a century, and families plan their Friday nights around these games. The annual Battle of Broadway football game between these two schools draws crowds that rival college games, with alumni returning from across the country to cheer for their old schools. Sacramento's tech scene has its own unique character, shaped by the city's government connections and agricultural heritage. Startups here focus on civic technology, agricultural innovation, and clean energy rather than social media apps and consumer gadgets. Companies like CropX use sensors and data analytics to help farmers optimize irrigation, while GovInvest develops software to help government agencies manage public investments more effectively. The climate remains one of Sacramento's greatest assets. With over 260 sunny days per year and mild winters, outdoor activities never really stop. Local cyclists take advantage of the flat terrain and extensive bike lane network to commute year-round, while the nearby foothills and mountains provide endless hiking, camping, and skiing opportunities. The American River Parkway becomes a highway for runners, walkers, and cyclists who use it to commute between downtown and the suburbs. Sacramento's farmers markets deserve special recognition as some of the best in America. The Saturday market under the Highway 50 overpass brings together over 100 vendors selling everything from organic vegetables to artisanal cheeses to fresh-cut flowers. Local chefs shop here for ingredients, creating a direct connection between farms and restaurants that has made Sacramento a destination for food lovers. The political culture remains uniquely accessible compared to other capital cities. It's not unusual to run into your state assembly member at the grocery store or see the governor grabbing coffee at a local cafe. This accessibility has created a more collaborative political environment where good ideas can come from anywhere not just from professional politicians and lobbyists. As Sacramento looks toward the future, the city is positioning itself as a leader in addressing California's biggest challenges: water management, affordable housing, climate change, and economic inequality are all issues where Sacramento's unique combination of government expertise, academic resources, and entrepreneurial energy could produce solutions that benefit not just California, but the entire nation. The spirit that built Sacramento from gold rush chaos into California's capital continues to drive the city forward today. It's a place where innovation happens through collaboration rather than competition, where diversity is celebrated as strength rather than tolerated as necessity, and where the American dream remains attainable for families willing to work for it. Sacramento proves that you don't need to be the biggest or flashiest city to make a difference. Sometimes the most important changes happen in places where people are more focused on solving problems than making headlines, where communities come together around shared challenges rather than splitting apart over differences. This is Sacramento's moment, and the city is ready for it. With new industries emerging, infrastructure improvements underway, and a younger generation bringing fresh energy to old neighborhoods, Sacramento is writing the next chapter of its remarkable story. It's a chapter that promises to be as exciting and unpredictable as any in the city's already incredible history. If this story of resilience, innovation, and community spirit inspires you, if you believe in cities that prove America's best days are still ahead of us, then you know what to do. Subscribe to Town Tales, hit that like button, share this video, and let's celebrate the amazing cities that make our country great. Sacramento didn't become extraordinary by accident, and neither will the next great American city. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep believing in the power of communities to transform themselves and their future